Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another wonderful episode of the Saturday Morning D&D Show. My name is Jordan, with a silent PH in the middle, and I'm a little loud, so I'm going to lower my mic. Yes, we got merch. There's T-shirts. I'm wearing my D4 Magic Missile shirt. It's so exciting. The shirt Lucian is wearing was designed by my good friend Aaron, and this one I made. I tried to design stuff. And speaking of designs, you probably saw the Dungeon Master patch if you were waiting in the pre-show. And I have made a plethora of patches and badges, and I sent them all off to Spring, formerly Teespring, the printing service that I partnered with. And they're going to make a whole bunch of patches here soon. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a pre-order, and I have patches for every class in the game, for a TPK, for a GM, and a DM. And then you buy them. That's hopefully what will happen. And then when you buy them, and then the idea for me was I wanted to do achievements in Dungeons and Dragons. So it's I play a bard. So you get the bard patch or sticker or something. And I think I'm going to release them as stickers as well. But I just have to wait for Teespring to get back to me, and then I'll put them up in the store. But it's going to be however many are ordered get made, and then we're done. And we might do another sale later on, but for right now, it's going to be done. But I think it'll be a lot of fun. You can buy them for your friends. The TPK ones, I'm especially excited for, because that's a fun, well, you guys, you all died, but here's a patch. Yeah, D&D Scouts, exactly, AJ. This is exactly what we're doing. So
you have to earn it. So at some point you have to have the TPK.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to earn it. So anyway, welcome everybody. We have a lot to talk about, because last week we had Dungeon Master Nathan on, which was a very fun conversation. And then the week before I was sick. So there's actually quite a bit of stuff to go over. And I guess we'll start out with Fey Ancestries, which was the last Unearthed Arcana. That's the word I'm looking for. That came out from Wizards of the Coast. I read it, but I don't have it up, so I'm going to pull it up right now. But thoughts, Mr. Lucian, on Fey Ancestry? What's the next book?
Well, I think, that's what it generated. Everybody was like, what's the next book? Now we're getting that. So I think that was the cool thing about the whole thing. And, they had the rabbit folk, and I think that was the one that everybody kind of focused in on. But I like the idea of the animal style humanoid
anthropomorphic humanization.
I love I threw him in my I wanted a bear people, right? I just want big bear head, big bear bodies, but they were humanoid. They had regular hands and they had regular feet, and they were a regular type people that were bipedal.
Yeah.
I just loved it, and I wanted that so bad, so I put it in my Revenar campaign. And I'd looked all around. There's lots of third-party stuff you can find, because there's lots of people I think that are also into that. But I just ended up making my own just to make it fit, because I just love the idea of, just like when you're in some of the other games we played, like World of Warcraft or stuff, you have the Taurens, which are kind of big bulls and cow kind of people. And I like the idea. You have cat people like Tabaxi, but then you don't really have a lot of dog people. I'd love a bunch of dog people, you could have Rottweiler type people, and
what's that? Yeah, Pugmire, Doberman, I think, or something.
Pugmire,
yeah,
yes, exactly. Yeah. But then you can have mouse people, and you can have bird people, and you could really go in a lot of cool places with it. And they can wear armor, and they can use weapons. And you're not really, you're not just making them in that way. They're still humanoid in some way, so that you can still kind of connect to them. No, I'm not secretly into the furry stuff or any of that, but I do like the idea of having those in the game and stuff.
Yeah.
What about you?
It was definitely, so I was surprised because it was called Folk of the Feywild, which pretty much is just this is going to be a Feywild book or something that's going to happen out. And we know that the college, some of the bard colleges and the undead extra attributes, creature types you can put on yourself is coming in Ravenloft, the book that's coming out in May, I think. And this was very much the same thing. You are a fairy, but your creature type is now Fey, or you're a humanoid, but your creature type is also this. I thought it was interesting that hobgoblins were in here, because we have hobgoblins, don't we?
Everybody talked about as a weird one, because in that they were Fey, people weren't sure, but I think that goes back to like if you go into mythical stories, maybe that's where the hobgoblin stuff starts, and you kind of, if you bring it back to that.
Yeah. Do you think this is going to be more for a kind of like how the satyr and the dryad were for Magic the Gathering? Do you think this is for another Magic the Gathering book, or is it going to be a Feywild book? Because it says Feywild, so it's kind of surprised.
Well, I have never seen any rabbit people in Magic the Gathering, so I'm going to lean more towards a Feywild style game, because I mean, you could play Kitsune people, you could play. I saw somebody's other favorite one. They wanted to play fox people, or you could do fish. I mean, because we have lots of them, really, in some ways, if you think about it. Because we have turtles, we have leonids, right? Those are our lion.
Oh, the lion people.
Tabaxis, the cat people. We have 2 bird people. We have Kenku, Aarakocra.
Mm-hmm.
We have what's the catfish people? Lowencanth as a playable race.
Yeah, I've never used them, but I can look.
We have
it up.
frog people.
Yeah, bullywugs.
Well, no. There's another frog people. Who am I thinking of, chat? There's different frog people.
You're all over the place, sir. It's ridiculous.
No, that's playable, that you can play.
Dragonborn, dwarf, elf, halfling, half-elf, gnome, orcs, Leonin, satyr, Aarakocra, Genasi, Goliath, Asmar, bugbear. Bugbear is what I'm thinking. No, there is hobgoblin right here. Yeah. Kenku, lizard folk, kobold, tabaxi, triton, yuan-ti, feral tieflings, turtles, changeling, warforged, shifter, gith, centaur, loxodon, elephant people, minotaur, simic hybrid, verdan, Locatha.
That was the one I was thinking.
That's the catfish person. Grung.
Yeah. Grung,
which are bullywugs.
The frog people.
They're great, yeah. Grungs are awesome.
You're calling them bullywugs.
But yeah, so the Unearthed Arcana, there'd be the Hexblood, Fairy, Dampier, Owlfolk, Rabbitfolk, Reborn. All of these are really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be like a humanoid construct. That's kind of fun. So yeah, these are probably going to be tied to another campaign setting. That'll be fun to do, like a Feywild campaign. I was kind of more hoping for a Shadowfell campaign setting, but maybe
I want them to
Ravenloft.
Put that together.
No, I do too.
Yeah, I want Feywild, Shadowfell in the same book. Make it big, make it half and half.
Yeah,
and give us some really good goodies in both of them. And I think that would sell like gangbusters. I think there's a big population of gamers that would love that.
Yeah.
So.
No, and I've said it before, but like it needs to be a really thick book that is like Feywild on one side, and then you reverse the book and it opens the other way, and it's the Shadowfell, and that would be really awesome. And then in the middle, there's one page about the Prime Material Plane. That's
just one tiny snippet.
Yes, just one and then when you cross this barrier, you're into some like normal annoying things. It'll be awesome. So yeah, I think it's exciting. I mean, it's funny that we were getting away from this whole idea of races, and now we are very much back on the train of races. That is also something that's been very intrinsic to D&D, and maybe race isn't the right word.
No, because they changed it in that guide, didn't they? Didn't they say ancestries? They're leaning into that word.
They're leaning into ancestries, yeah. But this document features 4 new race options to playtest. So the word race is in this Feyfolk document.
Yeah. I think they're going to phase it out.
But the idea that we don't have to, like, I can be a rabbit folk with whatever stats I want. But you still have things like your size and your speed and your rabbit hop. Those are all tied to, the ancestry you chose or the race you chose. So we really just got rid of the fact that you could put your stats wherever you want. Like being a rabbit folk doesn't mean I have +2 dex. I can put that wherever I want, kind of a thing. So I don't know. It's interesting that they're shifting away, but they didn't at the same time. And I don't know, maybe it's a big company. Maybe people just didn't know what was going on, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the last bastion of this style. And I bet, here's my big bet for 6th edition. They remove that completely, and it turns into you pick any type of way you want to look and call it whatever, ancestry or folk that you are, but you'll get to choose your stat bonuses and you'll get to choose abilities, and you can explain why you have them. So you'll at some point, I bet in 6th edition, you'll be able to choose human, but you'll also be able to choose night vision for one of your choices if that's the one you want to take, instead of hop or instead of extra tough, or there's just going to be that list that any of them could get, and you're just going to get to pick like one. And you have to make a decision of which one, and then you just explain it through.
But I don't think they will, because the game is so tied to like, but I'm a dwarf, like, and so you're like, okay, they want to give us the tools to do that. Like, I 100%, but when you have a new player and you're just like, and the player's like, I want to play a dwarf, it's really easy to hand them dwarf. As opposed to, well, if you want to do that, you're going to have to take stout and poison resistance and beard growth and all this other stuff. And although that's fun for a more advanced player, I don't think they'll ever do that. Like, I think they'll do what they did in Tasha's, where they're like, here's the tools to create your own custom race. So if you are like, hey, I want to be a dwarf, but I want to give up my poison resistance for, I don't know, extended night vision because I lived way deep and ate mushrooms that took away all of my harsh stomach acid. I don't know. And so, but you could do that. That's fine. But I don't think they're ever going to be like, here's just an open sandbox for you to build whatever you want.
I'm wondering if 6th edition is to get away from the problem of stereotyping things, which is what they seem to keep getting themselves in trouble with, is perpetuating stereotypes. And somebody will call it a harmful stereotype, and then they're in trouble because somebody is offended by the harmful stereotype.
Yeah. So
I keep thinking they're just going to move their game out of that.
I mean, Pathfinder, they changed they pretty much did what you're saying. And they call it your heritage or your ancestry, I forget. But very similar. Like, you just kind of like, okay, I want to be a dwarf, and then you pick, like, I don't know, from these dwarfy attributes kind of a thing. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's too tied to the game, but like I for 5th edition at least maybe, but like for 6th edition with a brand new whatever, they might things.
Yeah, I wouldn't think they would do it for 5th. I wouldn't think they would try to retrofit everything they've done this way. They would just, here's some extra rules, and if you want to use them, you can use them. That's definitely the model for 5th. And can we start saying, do you think, some people have been proposing this, that we're in 5.5 at this point?
I don't think anyone will ever say that, because 3.5 specifically was, we made a broken game. And so here are some patches. And that's what they did. They have definitely expanded the rules. So it's not a super different game from the beginning, but they didn't reprint players' handbooks to be like, here's the fixed ranger. Like, they didn't want to do that. So I don't think it'll ever be called 5.5, but we're definitely in a new 5th edition era. Like, it's very different from when it started. So.
Yeah, it's got to be different than 5.0. We got to give it something. We're
I don't know.
5.2.
5.10 alpha beta 2, something like that.
Patch 25.
There's always controversy going on in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, it feels like. And POC Gamer is on the Twitters, and he was very upset. And I read his tweets, but I don't know a ton about this. But he wrote for Candlekeep. Yeah. Candlekeep Mysteries. He wrote one of the adventures, and he basically outlined, like, here's what working as a freelancer is for Wizards of the Coast. And long story short, it's not the best. And Wizards definitely is tapping into that social media market, which is, there's nothing wrong with that, but they're hiring all of these freelancers and they're getting their input in writing. They come back, they heavily edit it, and they manipulate the story however they want because they own it now. You just gave them everything. I mean, they paid you, but like there's no royalties or anything. And then from there, they put your name on it, Jordan, boom. And then they go back and they say, hey, before you get to read what we printed, make sure you're hyping it up on social media and all this other stuff. So when this book came out, Candlekeep Mysteries, he was very upset because apparently a lot of the stuff that he had included was very changed or was changed so much that he asked Wizards of the Coast to take his name out of the book. And I thought that was pretty extreme. Like, that's kind of... Even if you don't, like, if you want to work in this industry, even if you're not working at Wizards of the Coast, having your name tied to a Wizards of the Coast publication is going to look really good when you go other places, I think, whether you're happy with the outcome or not. So I'm really curious. And he probably legally, because he doesn't own it, he couldn't print his version of the adventure at all. But I would be curious to see the difference between the two. So
Yeah, I think it's that weird thing that maybe a lot of us don't know as just the consumers of the games, that they still work on what I would consider to be the normal publishing model of they hire writers to create intellectual property, but it's for Wizards, and Wizards owns it completely, every bit of it. You're not loaning them your art or your story. You're not retaining any ownership over it when you hire on in that way. And I think there's other ways that you still can own, like when with Matt and he's doing with Arcadia, their artists can still go out and sell prints of that art. They're not just building the art for his. And I think they can do anything. The way he works with the writers and stuff, it's not just their IP, it's also the writer's IP.
Yeah.
That's not a common thing. Normally, you were paid for a job, and then the end product is the companies to do whatever they want to with it, which can be good or bad, obviously, especially about your opinion. I think if he was writing a story where he had certain plot elements that he was I'm trying to tell this type of story, and then somebody else comes in editor-wise, or a different person comes in and says, I kind of see what you were doing, but we want the story to do this thing. That could be pretty disconcerting. That could be pretty upsetting. If you're like, oh, no, the whole reason I wrote this story was to tell this dramatic thing about how having lots of power must have lots of responsibility. And now my story has nothing to do with lots of power means you must have lots of responsibility. You change it to this other cool. And maybe that thing's good, or maybe that has its own thing, but it wasn't what I did anymore. But I see it from both points of view too.
Oh,
because
yeah.
Writers to write something and say, but you have to know going into that they could change the characters, they could change the plot, they could change the setting, they could change the tone. Maybe they wanted to make it more funny, maybe they wanted to make it less dark, maybe they wanted to make it more family friendly. I haven't read that story in Candlekeep yet, so I don't have any opinion on it at all. But I think he ran into that kind of that truth that maybe most of us don't know about because we don't submit that kind of stuff, that these companies are corporate companies that, take that product and they do with it as they will. I mean, Hasbro would have done the same thing, or if you had gotten to write an episode for Netflix and Netflix editors come in and changed a bunch of stuff.
Think about old sitcoms. You used to be able to write, like I could write an episode of Cheers, mail it in, but like they have their team of people that are like, oh yeah, she wouldn't say that, and they'd change the whole thing, but they take the general gist of it. No, it's back and forth. Coming from a theater world, I think a lot about directing. And so if you wrote a play and I take that play and I produce it and I direct it and I do all the other stuff, there's so many people in there that change what the play is. You have a director's interpretation of the script. You have actors' interpretation of the script. And, there are some very wealthy playwrights that have in the past, when they I don't want you to do this show this way. And particularly I'm thinking of, there's a certain show that they wanted to change all of the characters from 5 men to 5 women. And the playwright was like, no, absolutely not. Not change them in women playing men on stage, but change the identities of those characters. So it is actually 5 women. And he's like, you can't do that. And he won that court because it's it's my interpretation. And so from this standpoint, it's kind of interesting where it's kind of flipped a little bit because you're writing this and you're like, I don't want you to do it like that. But at the same time, it's theirs now. And that's how I feel. The same thing. If I wrote a play or heck, if I wrote an adventure and I'm like, this is supposed a D&D adventure. And I'm like, this is supposed to be dark and gritty and da-da-da-da-da. And then somebody takes it and they turn it into a laughing fest with puns and stuff. I guess I could be upset about that, but at the same time, I can't. I'm like, I don't know. It's you're doing what you want with it. This is really different though. So I guess I shouldn't have brought that up, but it's really different because it is money on the line, and a game that I wrote for somebody to play is not money. So,
but look at the they just did the Snyder cut of the Justice League versus what was released before. So this is an example where the creative got to come back and say, this is what I meant it to be.
Yeah.
Even though the studio that owned it had already put out their version of it. So you don't normally get that. Normally you just get the version that the studio puts out and you just have to eat it at that point. You just have to, you're done and you move on and you go work for somebody else kind of thing. I think the other thing would be like, if you're a photographer, there's a lot of people that do a lot of great photography and they sell their photos to really high priced magazines and different places. They don't get to choose how that photograph is used after that. They just get the money for the photograph they get taken. So I think in some ways it's a miscommunication probably between the two parties, and maybe it wasn't handled well on either side or one side or the other, but it was definitely just down to a miscommunication. I found it odd that he would turn it in and they wouldn't talk to him or hadn't mentioned anything to him after that. And I found it surprising that they didn't touch back and say, hey, we got your story. Here's the changes we made. And thanks for working with us kind of thing. I would have thought there would have been a little bit more communication, but they're a busy company. So maybe
I agree. I think there should have been more communication, especially when they're pushing these writers to hype up their stuff on social media. You know, like if they were like, we really want you to hype it up. And if POC Gamer is like, I'm not proud of this anymore, I don't want to hype it up. And he wasn't forced to, but he was highly encouraged to. I don't know. I guess I'm always on the side of the little guy. And in this instance, I'm like, POC Gamer is the little guy in this instance. So I'm kind of on his side. But because it feels to me that if Wizards of the Coast was going to do all of these changes, I was like, you should have just written it in-house. Like, there's no reason for you to collect a whole bunch of freelance writers other than you don't want to hire a core team of writers because of financial reasons. It's easier for us to outsource and get all these different people to write it for us. And then we have one or two editors that fix it how they want it, how Wizards wants it.
But I kind of felt like this book was about reaching out to those in the community.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're stuck at that point. If you're going to do that, if that's kind of how you're going into this book.
Yep.
There is no, I have my staff of writers.
Yeah, exactly. And so it is.
And he said, and I'm not blaming anybody or anything, but he said two things that I thought contradicted themselves. One, he handed it in and they never talked to him again, but somehow he was highly encouraged to go out and advertise the adventure.
Yeah.
Those two things don't link. So one of them's not true. So either they did talk to him after the fact, he handed it in, and they did encourage him to go out and say, hey, yeah, do all these things, or they never talked to him and he was just talking to people out there, thinking about the way he had submitted his product, and then was very surprised when it was different.
No, I read his blog, a blog post that he did, and he specifically said, like, you are very encouraged by Wizards to go out and do this. So like when it was announced and it's like, it's go time, they were like, hey, and I saw, Amy Vorpal, I follow her on Instagram and various things, and she did a whole like Instagram video about her adventure. Because that was all kind of part of the, hey, you're a big name in the tabletop world, go talk about your stuff. So,
So,
but speaking of all of this, it kind of translates into MCDM and Arcadia 3, because he's doing a very similar thing where they're reaching out, in Matt Colville, reaching out into the community, and James Introcaso, and they're bringing writers and artists in, but they're like, paying them well. Not that Wizards doesn't pay well. I don't know what Wizards pays. It's probably all hush hush. But like specifically, Matt's just like, no, we want to pay you well and we want to do revisions with you. And like, what do you want to do for this? And he's making Arcadia 3, which just came out. So and lots of fun writers for that. And apparently this is, well, I shouldn't say apparently. It's good. Like, the Arcadia series has been very good. I haven't read 3 yet, so I apologize. We're going to talk about it, but I haven't read it.
There's 2 videos out. There's the announcement video that just talks about stuff at a high level, and then they do a Q&A with some of the writers of the articles. That's much longer, and you can get some more in-depth stuff. But you go to the Patreon page to pick it up if you you get it as like a Patreon, right? Or you can buy it as a separate copy, right?
Yeah, if you are a $10 patron or a $5 patron, you get a download every month, every week. But it's not retroactive. So you get that issue for that month. Or you can buy it for $7. Uh, and it's digital and it's fun. I don't know.
Well
But
put together. Good
yeah,
art.
and it looks really good. James Introcaso does really good stuff. He's a good lead for this, and he's doing awesome things, and he just cares about people, and he's a good guy. But this one specifically had some new spells, an adventure. Always kind of comes with an adventure, and 3 races that revolve around dreams.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I've been really liking these. It's funny because in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know what Matt's gonna do? We're gonna have like a year of these, like 12 issues, and then he's gonna compile it into, you know, like the anthology of
Yeah,
2021,
the omnibus.
and then you get this really cool hardback book of all the Arcadia issues. And I was like, that's what I want. More than I want these PDFs, but I want that hardback book.
And I think they're working on their own campaign world right now too. I think
that's
he
cool.
said that a couple of times, and that's another reason he hired James and them, because not only are they doing Arcadia, but I think they're also working on a campaign. He's still got to get out his last Strongholds and Followers, and then warfare, something in warfare.
The book we're all waiting for. That's still in my Kickstarter.
But I think he's already doing the campaign world that he's creating, and that'll be really good. I mean, I like his fiction books. The world he's created there is fantastic. Mm-hmm. The world he did with the chain on their live play was really good. He is good at making world stuff. So I'm super happy he's diving into let's build campaign worlds for stuff, because that's super cool.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Kingdoms and Warfare.
I like it.
Thank you, Jancy. So anyway, Arcadia, I'm excited for this. And it makes me think of like, what is the future of third-party content? Because if Wizards is kind of consistently letting us down, and consistently is a harsh word, because I've been very happy with like the Icewind Dale book, and Tasha's seemed like a good step in the right direction and things like that.
Xanathar.
But like, there's just little things here and there that it's like, I don't know. And when it kind of comes down to one of those things like, well, I could spend my money at a grocery store that treats their employees awful. Or I could spend my money at this grocery store where I know they give their employees like retirement plans and things like that. And the corporate people don't make as much money, but at the same time, like these are just happier employees. That's kind of where I want to go. And so I think about like, do I want to buy Candlekeep Mysteries, or do I want to buy more Coville stuff? Do I want to buy some Kobold Press things, like, or just indie stuff in general? I did so many Kickstarters in the last little bit, because I'm like, that looks like a really cool system, and I want to like adapt that for my game.
My Kickstarter junkie.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's weird being the like Forgotten Realms guy, and I'm going through a lot of Ravenloft stuff, and I'm excited for Ravenloft. But I'm trying to build my Endegar campaign setting, and I'm having lots of new ideas for that. I just got a new book called The Quadrivium, all about geometry, cosmology, and numbers, because that's going to play a huge part in my magic system. And it's fun to get excited about these, but like Wizards of the Coast is really, they've got that nostalgia factor. And so they're just like, hey, here's Ravenloft. And people are like, oh, that's cool. And that is cool. But at the same time, like, I want Matt's building a world. Like, that's cool. Like, I want to see his interpretation of just whatever he's going to create. Like, I think that seems really fun. So,
yeah.
I don't know. I think third-party content's where it's at. We've got like a space D&D campaign that's out now. I think Nerd Immersion was working on it, and some other stuff. So there's some, anyway, there's really good. We should do a whole video on our favorite third-party content, maybe.
Yeah, I feel like support what you can.
Yeah.
And if you can, I get it. Everybody, we've had some tough years here, and sometimes you're in this hobby and you can only do what you can do. Your paycheck only lets you do what you can do. But if you have a little bit of that extra means, you do like to buy those. I like to think of just mixing and matching, because one, I want D&D to continue. I don't want them just to Wizards of the Coast to shut down and that's it.
Oh yeah,
gone. So I want them to still get a little bit, but I do love the underdog. I do love the one-off creator that's doing it all themselves, and they're putting a lot of hard work and soul, blood, sweat, and tears into it, and do their Kickstarters, buy their PDFs off of the DMs Guild or whatever. In fact, buy them not from DMs Guild, so they get the full money. I really think they should get the full money.
Yeah,
For
there's
their
lots of
product
hosting sites
instead of doing that one. So I guess I go through Drive-Thru RPG. I'm okay if the hosting site gets a small percentage because they're doing all the hosting part. But like DMs Guild feels like it's a big percentage if I remember.
It's over. It's like 50. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's too much for me. So
whereas
for me,
I
want to go.
think Drive-Thru RPG you get. So Drive-Thru RPG, I think you also retain the rights, but DM's Guild was specifically created so that I can use Forgotten Realms, Eberron, Ravenloft, Magic the Gathering settings, and when I use those, that means that Wizards owns that. So that's another thing. Like Dragon on the Mount, they could take that and put it in a published book, and I could see nothing because they own it. Like I wrote it, but I'm making a little bit of money off it. Like I think it's $1, so I make 50 cents every time I sell one. But but it's that weird idea. Like what if it did blow up? Like Jordan reaches 100,000 subscribers, and all of a sudden,
then they changed it, and it's called Owlbear on the Mount.
Oh, I would be. There would be words. Although that sounds pretty dope.
There would be tweets.
I would see.
I would tell you that.
I would play that game. Owlbear on the Mount.
Yeah, you're like, that's actually the sequel, but nobody knows yet.
Yeah, I should write a sequel. And just everything's on a mountain, and they're like, this guy really likes mountains. That's weird.
On a mount. Well, and then don't do it on a mountain, like on a mount, and they're like mounted on something, and then on a mount, and it's like a different word of the word mount.
Welcome to my pungeon.
The punge.
What's Ben working on? I didn't even know about this.
Well, Ben has been working on Walking of Willoughby Halls. He did a little Kickstarter.
Yeah, Ben Milton, fan of the show, or friend of the show. He is Quest and Beast on YouTube. He's been doing some really good interviews. He did an interview with Dale Kingsmill. He did some other people. I'm blanking on the names, but he's been doing some industry interviews. It's been really good. He's a good guy.
So I like So his whole party's in there. He's like the writer, and he's got all his family as the play testers. Sam Mamley was cover and title and design. So he did a cool thing. This was the Kickstarter. Just a little adventure that's a quirky. He likes to write kind of quirky stuff for his couple because he's written a couple of cool RPGs, Knave and what was the other one the one right before Knave? I'm forgetting the name of it. But
Maze Rats.
Some that are Maze Rats. Great he creates them and then uses those to play role-playing games with the kids he teaches in his class because he's a teacher.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. So this was just an adventure that's kind of agnostic. You could use it anywhere. Seems pretty cool. It has some cool characters in there like Helmet, Half Sword, Apocalypse Anne, Mildred the Goose.
That's fun.
So it seems fun. It seems like Bonebreaker Tom, the Death Knight, and Skeleton Servants. So all kinds of cool little stuff.
Yeah, he's a big OSR fan, which the OSR is cool.
Yeah.
And Maze Rats, I think, is Creative Commons, and you could take Maze Rats and reshape it into a game of your own. But the art on that looks really cool. That's fun.
So I thought that was cool. I finally got it in. It came in the mail a week ago or so, and then been wanting to show that off. So that's pretty cool. So good for Ben.
Yeah.
His Kickstarter's out. If you guys help kickstart him.
Yeah. What is is it on Drive-Thru? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know where else he put it. I just saw it through Kickstarter.
What's it called again? I have it right here.
The Waking of Willoughby Halls by Ben Milton.
Because if it's on there, we should link to it. No, not finding it. So it'll be on there eventually, probably. So
there's a suggestion in chat that says you should name your company, your creative company, Jordan on the Mountain.
Oh, Press. It's really good. I don't think I haven't really announced this or anything, but I did start an LLC.
There you go.
But it's Silent Letter Productions.
Oh, okay.
Which I thought was pretty good too. So, yeah.
Well, maybe get the other one and just.
I should. I'll register too.
The other one. Yeah.
or the Mount one will be a subsidiary of Silent Letter Productions.
Yeah, because you're gonna get huge, dude. So you just gotta be ready.
Hope so.
So that was pretty fun. Other than that, it's kind of been a lot of video. Well, the survey is out for. That was the reason I put in the Fey Ancestry thing. Yeah. They did put the survey out this week, so you can give your input, which usually means I'm betting they're about to probably send out another Unearthed Arcana pretty soon. I bet within the next, maybe at the beginning of next month, I bet we might see another one. So that could be fun. Keep your eyes out for that, possibly. Other than that, it's just been computer games for me. What about you?
Well, yeah, I've been playing. Actually, I've been so busy. I've been doing a lot of writing. I worked on my modular D6 game a lot. And I really like where it's coming from. And I wanted to talk to you, Lucian, about it and send you new playtest material because I got some cool stuff. So that's been a lot of fun working on my game. And then I think I'm going to tie Endegar into that game system. And like my Endegar campaign world, you can play it with any system, any fantasy system, really. But like, I also want to make it work with the one that I'm building so that if I release this tabletop RPG I've been working on, then at the same time you get this campaign setting with it is kind of the idea. So
right.
But no, I've been working on that. Work has been just crazy, and then I was sick, and then on top of that I was trying to get a bunch of videos done because I was sick, which kind of brings us to, I don't know if you guys saw the Solasta video game review I did, and that was like a paid thing, but like I want to point out, like I really liked it. Like I thought it was really fun.
I've talked to
several and I gave Lucian a key, and so he's been playing a little bit. But like, what did you think? Like go ahead. We'll talk about that first. But
yeah. So I've talked to a couple people that have already played it, and they liked it a lot. They compared it to being right on par with Baldur's Gate 3, which is out also, and that's a AAA, pretty fun game. So far, I've jumped in. I've done the character creator, and I played around to see what types of characters I could build. Like, could I build all my previous characters that I've played? And I was able to get quite a few of those, and I liked how it walked you through the character party generation. And so after I played a couple hours with that, and now I have the party I want to play, so I'm about to start the campaign and see what it's like to bring those characters through the campaign. So I'll get to see that part next. But I like the character generator. I like what they've done. It is 5e. It's all familiar, but there's cool stuff about it too that's slightly different. And I'm interested to
it's a cool world, but they took the SRD, which is the system reference document, the OGL, and then or the open gaming license. So they took all the free stuff that Wizards has given, and they made a video game about that. But that's a very tiny sliver of D&D 5e. So they had to expand and make their own stuff. So there's new spells in there. There was like a cantrip that blinds people that I thought was really interesting. And tactic wise, it's all grid based movement, and you have 30 feet of movement and stuff. And you have to have line of sight so you can hide behind things, and then they can't cast spells on you. They're building a dungeon builder, which I thought was really interesting. And I that might be released now. I haven't checked lately, but it's early access, so you're getting not the full game, but like it has a lot of potential. It's fun. I think so far. Like I really liked it.
My one friend that's playing it, he said he got to a certain part and there was a bug that stopped him.
Oh, okay.
He couldn't get past it yet, and he's like, so I'm going to wait a little while until I go back and try it again, because I'll probably have that resolved. So definitely, if you do pick it up wherever you got it, I was lucky enough to get it with Jordan here on Steam. They may have it in other places, but if you go pick it up, it's
just Steam.
Early access. So just be ready that they're working on it. They're adding to it. There's going to be bugs here.
But it's got voice acting. They've got English voice actors. I think it's a German company, but anyway.
So I'm looking forward to getting into the campaign. And I would really, I should go back like you said, because if they create your own adventure generator, me and you have always raved about Neverwinter Nights back in the day. That game
I still
allowed
rave
you
about
to create adventures for other people to play. Yeah.
So
and
good.
It was just cool.
I love that game.
You could script things. You could put pathing for characters. You could put in all kinds of scripts that just let certain sounds hit when they got to a certain point, and you could change lighting in some ways, and you could do all this cool stuff. And I remember, I don't think anybody played any of the adventures I built, but I spent hours and hours and hours creatively building adventures in that.
Oh yeah. I would create, cause I had my like level 20 sorcerer or whatever. And I would create like a bunch of monsters just to see if I could fight them. Like, can I take down a red dragon? And like, I would just build this forest, and then I would go fight dragons, and I'd die a lot, but it was, I don't know, it was so fun. Like, okay, the red dragon got me this time, but like, I could do this. And so specifically the tools in Solasta are going to be like building a dungeon that your friends could then run through, but like, it's going to be
Could I recreate Dragon on the Mount? Could I recreate that part where you go into the caves and you see some stuff in the background?
Just saying. So, I mean, and then on the topic of video game classes, that's fun.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3 is clearly also in early access, and people are enjoying that. They're
big
getting
patches,
updates, big
new
patches.
Races, druids.
I catch a friend of the show, LB, every so often playing that on Nerd Immersion's channel with Celeste and Lazy Mermaiden. Very fun people. They're running through. But Dark Alliance is coming out too. And do you remember that terrible first trailer of Dark Alliance? And then
I hated the first one and then loved the second one.
The second one looks really good. So I think they I don't know what they were thinking with that first one. It was so bad. I wonder if you could still find it. I need to watch it.
I'm sure it's out there, but that weird running
that
Blair Witch cam.
So bad. But I'm excited for Dark Alliance, actually. Like I like the characters of Drist and stuff, and I think it'll be a lot of fun. But I'm more excited to just attack giants and beholders and stuff with my friends. Like I think that would be a lot of fun. So the fact that like me and you and we can grab other people, maybe even people from the chat, we could do it like after a Saturday morning or something. That would be a lot of fun. So
that would be fun.
So
and I threw in there, I kind of added in there because those were all the ones that were D&D related, but Magic's sort of D&D related because not only are they doing crossovers these days, they're about to have a D&D set. And they're doing stuff, but you can also get Magic Legends out on Epic launcher. So that's another one like Steam. It's free. It's an open beta. You don't have to pay anything. And I downloaded it and it was pretty fun to play. You pick one of your planeswalkers, one of the colors, and then you get your sets of skills based on the color of magic you choose. And you kind of run through a story and you kill creatures and you're just doing this whole thing Diablo kind of style. Not a lot of like loot dropping or anything, but at least using cool abilities and seeing cool graphics and getting to fight cool creatures and stuff. So,
and you're just fighting like it's not a MOBA or something where you're fighting against another team or anything.
But it is stuff that comes from Magic the Gathering. So it's like what it is.
Are you a planeswalker or?
Yeah, you're a planeswalker, and you come in and there's another planeswalker. Two planeswalkers are fighting. And then one loses and he tells you, hey, go chase after her and stop whatever she's doing. So you jump through a portal and she keeps summoning things that chase after you, try to slow you down as you're trying to chase after. And the story kind of builds from there. So there's these things that are coming from the world. And they're trying to stop you or kill you. And you're using your planeswalker abilities to get through them. So it's interesting. And it's free. So, why not try it out? And it's pretty cool.
In con news, we've been doing a lot of virtual cons, and this is another virtual convention.
Gary Con is this week.
Gary Con.
Gary Con's this week.
Gary Con's happening digitally this weekend. But anyway, I was going to talk about Goodman Games is partnered with the Dungeon Masters Guild and Wizards of the Coast, and they're doing Dungeon Con May 28th. And I just want to, I know I talk about DCC a lot, but they are also trying to do a lot of 5th edition stuff. And they recently hired a bunch of writers to make 5th edition, not conversions, but 5th edition material, but with their weird OSR mindset. And so I had a couple friends that was submitting, hey, hire me. Here's a typical thing. Sure. But they have been doing really good with this online convention stuff. They've been consistently doing it. I participated in, I think it was Spawn of Cyclops Con, or Bride of Cyclops Con. That's what I played in. But this one's going to be 5e focused, Dungeons & Dragons focused. And so I thought that's really fun.
We're in.
Their latest Kickstarter was a Crypt of the Devil Lich. And it just funded yesterday. It met its goal, but it closed yesterday. But they had they are releasing the book for both 5e and Dungeon Crawl Classics. So I bought it twice, so I can have both versions. I'm really excited. But that's the kind of, I don't know, I like that, and I want to see what's the difference between these games. I thought that would be kind of interesting. So check out. I mean, it's May 28th. It's a while away, and then I think Dungeon DCC Days is June. And I should be vaccinated by then. So I'm going to go to my local game store and be like, hey, I want to run Dungeon Crawl Classics for you guys. So I think that'd be a lot of fun.
They switched Gen Con's dates.
Oh, did they? I thought they canceled it again.
They moved it to September, I think. So maybe
Ooh.
they said limited. They're going to limit the size. But that might be because a lot of people might not want to go anyway. So that would have limited the size in the first place. Plus, they might limit the size themselves depending on what they want to do. But I'm going to see if I can still get to go or what's going on with that. They're going to do the online one in August still.
Okay.
But they've moved the live in Indianapolis thing to, I think, September or October, one of the two.
Okay. Man, I just want to see all my friends and lick their faces.
I just want to touch things again.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, look at your face. I miss you so much. Okay. Yeah. So Adventure League. And it's like an Adventure League. Oh, and another thing that I thought was interesting with DCC. Sorry, I'm just going to go talk about how much I loved. They created,
drink again, DCC.
There you go. Drink it up. They created, they're introducing something called DCC Legacy. So much like Adventure League in D&D, where you have your character, you could go to any table, and following these rules, you're kind of balanced for the table. So you can only have certain amount of magic items and things like that. They're doing the exact same thing for Dungeon Crawl Classics, and that seems way fun. So there is some PDF guidelines to creating a legacy character. And then with that legacy character, you could just go to conventions and be like, hey, I'm level 2. And they're like, we've got a spot for level 2. You sit down and you play. And that sounds really fun. Gen Con, September 16th to the 19th. Thank you, BK Dan.
Thanks. Maybe we'll get to go.
Gary said, which cover did I choose? I got there was some cover controversy with Crypt of the Devil Lich. I don't know if you know this, but there was apparently they used some art they weren't supposed to. And so the original cover, amazing. Can't have it now. Not allowed. So they brought another one, and the other cover, not good. Really, really not good. So then people were unfunding because they didn't like the cover. So then they hired Doug Kovacs, who does a lot of the art for DCC, and he came and he did a really fast painting, as fast as he could. It looks really good. But he took this and he made a thing. So now the book has 2 covers. You can get the Doug Kovacs cover or the crappy one.
I'm sure it's not labeled as the crappy.
No, but that's how Jordan
out there that might be a fan of our show.
I'm sorry. It's not a good cover.
The less desirable one.
Less desirable from Jordan's opinion. I apologize. But so long story short, I backed both of them. And so my 5th edition is the original cover, the not good one, and my DCC one is the cool Doug Kovacs cover. But the original art was so good. It was this like holding a chalice, and you were just like, that's something I want to back. And they were like, and they won't talk about it. Like, I dug through the comments because I was curious, and they're just like, we can't talk about it. There was some loss, something cease and desist got dropped, and they were like, get rid of it. Fine. It's crazy. But I'm very excited. That's like you know how much I love Tomb of Horrors, and Crypt of the Devil Lich is like the next hardest.
That iconic.
It's going to be so good. I'm so excited. I think we're going to skip College of Monsters because we've been talking a lot of news, and I want to talk about games, but specifically, Lucian, have you been playing any games?
I've been playing Dungeon of the Mad Mage.
Ooh.
We are hunting this Mad Mage down. We may have captured a version of this Mad Mage in a little globe, but I have no idea what it's going to do when we do something with it because it's very interesting. We had some interesting fights in a forest.
In underground forest?
Yeah.
What is this magic?
Stuff.
I don't like
crazy stuff. It's weird.
I don't like it.
And the people there that lived there didn't like us, so we had a run-in, which is really what our group does all the time anyways. We're pretty much clearing it out so that any of the adventurers that come down the yawning portal after us, they're kind of like, it's just empty.
Just like,
there's just nobody here.
There's a broken table over there. I don't know.
Yeah, why is there blood on the floor everywhere? Yeah. But our group's a little combat heavy, and we love it, and we fight everything we can find. And so we're going through, but it's still a cool premise where our premise is we work for Acquisitions Inc. We are a franchise in Waterdeep, and our franchise's mission is to map the Dungeon of the Mad Mage to help Omendron figure out how he wants to exploit it for corporate purposes.
Oh yeah.
So that's why we're down there and we're mapping it out. We think the level we're on now is going to make a good place for the first outpost of Hack Inc. in Dungeon of the Mad Mage. Kind of found a place that we think we can secure, man it with guards and stuff, and keep it, and then we can use it as a way to get up to the surface and back down to this level, skipping bunches of other levels and stuff. So it's really fun. So it's funny that we think about it in that way, like we're gonna put little outposts as we move further and further down in this crazy dungeon. I'm enjoying the high level play.
What level are you now?
Tougher. I'm split, so I am a level 6 Arcane Archer and a level 3 Cleric of the Twilight Domain.
Yeah. What's your god?
Khonshu.
Ooh. Do I know that god?
Yes. Moon Knight's god from Marvel, but he let me use it. It's an Egyptian god, so it kind of fits in there. You can use some of those. We're having a lot of fun. Some of our characters are actually not, or some of our players are full 9. So that's not.
Well, you're 9. You're level 9but that's how it works.
Level 9 abilities.
Oh well.
The level 9 spells for a cleric. Yeah, But we're getting to that spot that you really liked also too. That 9-10 level.
Yeah.
When you're playing a character class, really starts to open up into crazy superheroism stuff.
Yep.
And we're kind of there now, so that's nice. It's making it pretty hard on our dungeon master. I'm thinking he's having to really pump up the encounters because the ones that are listed in the book are no match for our party whatsoever. So he's really, really having to throw stuff in. So be aware of dungeon masters that are running that. Your players get higher level, and you have to ramp the content up even more than you would think to challenge those players.
It's a fine tipping point too, because last week with Nathan, he was just like, I only run deadly encounters now, because running anything less than that is just like waste of time almost. It's kind of sad. So I don't know.
And get away from, here's a tip to dungeon masters: get away from this idea that you're going to throw one cool big bad guy and you're going to have a party of these players fight him. It's never going to work, no matter what CR they are. Always think about however many actions your party has. Find a way that they don't have enough actions to deal with everything.
Yeah.
If that means they have, we have 5 players in our group, so most of us can do 2 or 3 things, average it out. So you need 15 targets for those players to have to worry about. Mm-hmm. So when you build that encounter, put in 16 or 17 targets, because then they're like, crap, we have to make some decisions here. We have to do some things, and that'll make it a lot more interesting and fun. So don't do the whole CR thing. I think the CR thing is just dead at this point. Or at least at that level. Maybe it works out, first, second, third level, it's fine, but throw it away after that and just start doing action economy stuff. Count up the actions of what you think they can do average, and match it. Or give them a couple of more that they have to worry about and have to deal with. It makes it more fun for everybody. So very cool. I'm enjoying it. That's going to be fun. I can't wait to get a little bit further. I did make my party in Celeste, so we already talked about that. So that's what I've been doing. I put it's spring, so I put my brand new electric bike together.
That's fun.
I'm going to ride my electric bike today when we're done.
That's
cool.
Exercise in. Yeah, we've got we got like a bike seat for the little boy too, and so we've been going on bike rides. It's been fun.
Very cool. But what did Jordan do in games?
Yeah, well, I did not play a lot of games, so I was.
All right, show over, guys.
Yeah, well, bye everyone. See you later. No, so man, I didn't have COVID, but I was so sick.
Yeah, you said that. Yeah,
I was awake for 2 hours and then I'd fall asleep. I'd try to put movies on and I'm like, what? And I decided to watch Tenet, and that was dumb because I can't.
This was before you got the shot, though, too, right?
Oh yeah. It was before I got the shot. Yeah, it was something, and nobody in the house caught it other than me, so that's good. Mm-hmm. But anyway, so because of that, I missed a couple games, and we did wrap up our other game, and we voted on what to play next.
Yeah. So how much further are you guys into this? Have you decided your characters? Has anything else been decided, or just the game you're going to play?
Yeah. Well, okay. So just the game so far, but we're going to play Numenera. Okay. I'm going to run Numenera. So I'm a little nervous because we're starting tonight. I bought an adventure. I got the Devil's Spine. And this is a from what I was told, it's a good starter adventure for both game master and player in the world of Numenera. And I was like, that's what I want. And a lot of people recommended it, so I picked it up. It's also broken into 3 parts. And so I told my players this, where I'm like, we can play one section and kind of have like a fun conclusion. And then there's a little bit more mystery to keep playing the other 2 parts. So I was like, if you don't want to keep going, like if this just is not the system for you, then we're probably okay. Or we can stop is the idea. But I've been reading Numenera, trying to figure out the rules again and like wrap my head around it. And I always get worried about new systems. I'm like, oh man, I've never ran this before. But I have to remember, it's just my friends. Like we're going to be, like they're fine. They're like, oh yeah, whatever. Look up a rule. I don't care. I'll go get a beer. Like, yeah.
So if you need to call me,
okay, yeah.
I got my Numenera book ready.
I'll phone a friend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll bring up some stuff. We were talking about it yesterday. And I think one of them wants to play a mutant. And so I was like, is that an option? And so I was digging through the discovery book, and you can change your focus. So you can be like, I'm a charming glaive, but apparently there's like a secret one called I'm a mutant glaive. And then you can roll on this mutant table, and you have to roll, is what they said in the book, to get a random mutation that could be helpful or harmful. And I was like, oh, that's fun. And so we got one guy that wants to be a mutant. Another one is going to be kind of a mechanical nano who controls gravity. That's what Nathan wants to play. Very cool. And Nathan said, he's like, basically, I'm going to be a Dunamancy wizard in Numenera from Critical Role's world. So
yeah. That's what's cool about Numenera is your class is like a sentence. It's almost a haiku. It's almost a short poem.
It's a little sentence that describes your character more than very clever, because then you're not like, oh, I'm this. Like you bundle to put it in D&D 5e terms. When I was reading it and I was trying to explain it to my players, I was like, you kind of wrap your character background, your class into and your alignment into a sentence, and then that sentence kind of defines who you are and how you play, and it's really fun. So tonight we're gonna basically just build characters,
so fun,
and figure out our connections with everybody else, which is one of my favorite things about role-playing games. I think that's why I love Kids on Bikes so much, because the first half of Kids on Bikes is creating the world we're going to play in and everybody's relationships with each other. And then we get to see how that plays out. So I'm really excited. And then I think if we have time, which we probably will, I'll run them through a quick combat just to be like, this is how combat works. This is how, so we'll see. But yeah, so exciting. Numenera. I know we're like the Saturday morning D&D show, but like, I haven't been excited I haven't ran a game, I feel, since, I ran a little bit of Kids on Bikes and stuff, but Rod of 7 Parts, basically.
Real run, where you're running sessions and you're really
and so this will be a lot of fun, and it's also just a fun new challenge of new system and new world, and the Numenera world's so interesting, and I've been reading
and they do all the rolling. So. That's what I love. Yeah. Like, when something tries to hit them, they roll to dodge it.
I don't have to roll any dice.
They roll to do something.
I don't have to roll any dice. So excited.
You get GM intrusions, and that's if they take them, they can get some XP. Always remind them of that, because sometimes they hear GM intrusion and they're like, no, I want to be able to do this thing, but you got to remind them, like, but you get XP. And
that's the only way you get experience is through intrusions and there's other mechanics, but you don't get experience from defeating a monster. And so there is no mechanical wise to actually kill this monster, which is something that I really love. Like you're probably going after it just for your own survival, but like you're not thinking like, man, if I could find 4 more orcs, I could level up. Like it's not a game like that, and I like that. No, when I was playing with Judge James at Gen Con. He had a really fun thing where he would hold up playing cards, and that was the experience. And so he would hold them up and look at you, and he's like, do you guys can I, and so we'd be like,
Can I-
okay,
yeah,
give us the,
complication.
and then he'd like throw him down and he's like, you don't remember why you're here. And I was like, this is so fun. So I have a deck of cards that I'm going to bring because I really liked that mechanic. And then you could also like look down. I was going to use coins, but I like cards because I can kind of throw them across the table. So we're going to use a deck of cards and it'll be fun. I'm so excited. So excited for games. It's going to be fun.
It's a good game. It's very good. And the world is wonderful. Wonderful. Numenera is so awesome.
Oh, and yes, sorry. So, BK Dan, I will not be Twitch streaming this game. But I am going to do some Twitch streams, maybe some YouTube streams, because I just have a bigger audience on YouTube, dealing with Endigar. But it all kind of depends on schedules and stuff. But I'd like to do more of my kind of explaining my module D6 system and my World of Endigar and things like that. So, but Numenera will not be Twitch streamed.
Well, I'll do this. I'll commit. I'm going to run Jordan's module D6 world as a dungeon master when he's finished it on my channel.
Oh, that would be fun. Play test it. That's what I need. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Now I got to code the Roll20 app for it.
Yeah. But we got Nathan, so
yeah, that's true.
Maybe he can code with us. Maybe
possibly. Fantastic. That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for coming out and hanging out with us this fine Saturday morning. This was a good show. We had a lot of stuff to talk about. I really enjoy it. Always a pleasure, Mr. Co-host.
We'll do Sunday morning Numenera, Monday night DCC, Tuesday. No,
yeah, we should have like 8 different shows. It's the Wednesday 3 p.m. Numenera show with your host. So funny.
All right.
Okay.
Take us out. We got stuff to do.
I'll see you guys later. Go enjoy a bike ride. Happy spring. Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.